Hello! Today we will be looking at this little new device that is on the market, the PXN VD4 Bundle. Now you'll see here I've got two other little bundles here, and for good reason. A lot of you watching here might be first time buyers looking for your first, sim racing wheel. And let me tell you something. See, Logitech and Thrustmaster, they've got about 5 or 6 different wheelbases like these that are in the top 20 of all-time Amazon sales. And yeah, for good reason. These are good little bases. However, they are old in technology. There are some newer, better stuff on the market. And I'm going to show you why you shouldn't be buying the most popular thing. These here you find everywhere on Facebook Marketplace. Every other shop you go to, you'll see one of these wheels, on the shelves. However, I'm telling you now, you're going to have a much better driving experience by picking something like this, because this here is a direct drive. Now, you'll hear in sim racing, direct drive, direct drive, direct drive. Yes, for good reason. Direct drive is magnifique. Let's have a look. Before we continue, the necessary disclaimer. PXN did send this nice little bundle my way so that I can make a review for you. This wheel here will set you back $299 or $369 if you're living in Europe. Is a euro not supposed to be stronger than the dollar? Yeah, I don't get it either, but I'm sure that is for very good reason. PXN is stuffing their pockets. They are like trying to fit in as much cash as they can, where they can. No, I'm sure there's good reason for it. I don't know the reason why. Maybe someone can tell me in the comments. But yeah, it is a little bit more expensive if you're buying it in Europe. Overall, compared to what other direct drive wheelbases are on the market at this Newton meter range, I think it is very well priced. If you compare this to the Cammer C5, for example, or you're comparing it to the Moza R3, yeah, I think PXN is on a winner. They've definitely made a product here that I think is going to make a lot of people happy. This is something that I wish there was available when I started sim racing. I really do. It's just fantastic how technology has come such a long way. Now, just some of the things you're going to read off the brochure when you are looking at this PXN VD4 bundle. You're going to get a brake, you're going to get a throttle in with your little bundle, and then also you get this 11-inch rim. Yeah, 11 inches. Yeah, it's about right. I would say that maybe 11 inches. We're not going to argue over half an inch now, are we? You get these two knobs here at the bottom, programmable knobs, 19 input programmable buttons. You get your shifter pedals on the back. You get a quick release, which you don't get, look at it. You can detach it, and then if later on you want to buy something else, the possibilities are there. And then, of course, on the back of this wheel as well, you get clutch pedals, which you never see in an entry-level bundle. So having dual clutches on the back, already at this price point, fantastic. Okay, other than that, this base does have smart intelligent cooling. Direct drive bases do get very hot, and yeah, this has smart cooling. What that does, I don't know, but it does it smartly. So yeah, the motor itself in here is a low inertia motor, which just means that yeah, you don't feel any cogging, which you do with a lot of gear driven wheelbases, or even other direct drive bases. You can feel a little bit of cogging. However, this is a cog free, yeah, it feels cog free motor, and it comes with a 24-bit encoder. Wow, 24 bits. What is that? Honestly, I've never had a wheel out of all my wheelbases at 24. I think the highest I had prior to this is 21 bits. That means that they are like 16. If you turn this wheel like that, there are 16 million steps. Now that there, in my opinion, is just sales talk, because even at a 16-bit encoder, which will give you about 16,000, you're still not going to know the difference. However, I'm sure it does help when it comes to software development, just being that more accurate when it comes to force feedback and effects they can apply. That's what the 21-bit encoder is, but that is just a little bit of sales talk. Anything over 16, you will never ever feel the difference, in my opinion. Okay, yeah, that's a brochure sorted out. Let's just have a closer look at everything, shall we? Here we have our contenders for this video, the Logitech G923 and the Thrustmaster T248. Now, these two wheel combos over here are very, very popular. Almost everybody starts out with something like this, including myself. I started out with some Thrustmaster driving machine. It was one hell of a setup. I mean, I even used phone books to prop up the table to get, a nice driving angle. How far we've come. But anyways, this power-wise, this G923 is roughly 2.5 Newton meters. This one is 3.5 Newton meters. Now, if I'm off by a little, don't be go, it's only 2.2 or it's only 2.7. Just like yourself, I just Googled it. I don't have the exact figure because, yeah, they are quite shady when they are, telling you what the Newton meters are for these. However, this one, the PXN, is a 4 Newton meter base, as the name Vd4. However, it has a holding torque of 5 Newton meters. So this obviously helps when you're going over like a bump or curb, just to, feel that little bit better, that extra Newton meter. At this level, every extra Newton meter makes a big difference. As of the reason why PXN actually has a Vd6 base and also a Vd10 base, because every extra Newton meter helps. Now, they did send me the Vd10 as well, and yeah, it's kind of, I've got a few things to tell about it, but for that, you're going to have to subscribe. So, to finish off this section, this Vd4 over here has a direct drive motor, and because of that, it offers 100% a better driving experience than what you would on these two, gear-driven wheelbases. Not just does this wheel feel stronger, it feels more realistic. The things like the details, like for example, wheel slip when you're losing traction, or driving over gravel, or over a rumble strip. All those little details is just translated so much better, through your grip, what you're feeling through your hands than what these two wheelbases over here would offer you. Now, even though I do think that the force feedback on this Vd4 is fantastic, especially considering the price you're paying, I still think there's a few improvements that can be made. So my biggest thing that I notice is when sometimes I'm driving over a rumble strip in particular, I feel like the wheel is a little bit overkill. It really shakes aggressively. And then even though my wheels are actually off the rumble strip and I've now passed it and I'm on the tarmac, going about my ways, the wheel still shakes a little bit for 2 or 3 seconds. That shake almost continues and it almost feels like it dwindles down to nothing, and then you just feel the road textures again. That feels a bit odd to me. So keeping things in perspective, I think that this the force feedback and the details you feel through this PXN VD4 is fantastic for what it is. Do I think it's going to get better over time? Yes. I think software updates and things like that is going to come, and I think the experience is just going to get better and better. In my opinion, there's only one single reason why you would go and buy one of these two wheelbases that cost the same as this. If you go and buy one of these wheelbases, you're going to pay the same money as what you pay for this PXN. The only reason I would recommend you going for one of these over something like this is just purely for console compatibility. If you maybe want to use it on Xbox or you want to use it on PlayStation, yes, go ahead, get one of these. They are great for that. However, for PC, in my opinion, it's not even a competition. This one here, I pick it every single day of the week. Let's talk a little bit about the wheels themselves. Now, you will see that they are all similar size, roughly about 280 mils in diameter. And that is for good reason. Smaller wheelbases like this, if you actually use a larger wheel, something like 300 or 330 mils, there's not enough power to actually make the force feedback and the details that's supposed to be given to you while you're driving nice and clear. The larger you make the wheel, the more dampened the force feedback will feel, unless you actually have a big base or, extra Newton meters to actually make, the wheelbase feel very good. That's why all these little wheelbases that are, 2.5, 3.5, 4 and 5 Newton meters, they come with smaller wheels. They feel more nippy. They feel more, responsive, and that's just the way it is. However, this PXN has a little bit of advantage. It does come with a quick release on the back, and this quick release is really solid. You just line up your little, line over there with the one that's on the base, you click down, and that is it. And look at this thing is absolutely solid. Now at this very moment, you don't have an abundance of wheels that you can stick on here anyway. But yeah, you can get yourself a NRG cell quick release, and you can pretty much put any wheel on here. You might just have to run a cable to your PC. It won't work, wirelessly. But yeah, that option is there. Whereas on wheels like this is the only wheel you're going to be using on this base. There's no swapping around. This wheel is stuck in those gears, and yeah, you can't actually remove this wheel. So that is a very big selling point on this wheelbase as well. And then just talking about the shifters on the back, because these shifters here 100% are the two buttons you're going to be using the most on any wheel. And yeah, these here feel very nice. These are made out of aluminium, and it's also the only one that comes with clutch pedals. Look here, you get dual clutches. That is something you normally get in your mid-range and your upper range wheels. You don't normally, in fact, I don't know about one entry-level bundle base that actually comes with a wheel that has clutch pedals. So that is a nice bonus, of course. This one here does have rev lights over here, same as what the Logitech would have, which is very nice. The T248 does have a little screen, but to be honest with you, it's not very useful. The buttons, all the buttons on these wheels are all kind of identical. They feel, all these buttons, they feel like what a PlayStation remote button would feel like. In my opinion, I would have liked to see a little bit better buttons. Maybe not at this price point, to be fair. But yeah, there definitely could be a little bit more of a click, I think, to them. Other than that, all the buttons are very easy to reach. And these encoders here at the bottom, I have to say, feel very nice. They have a very nice resistor. And even when I was driving, changing my brake bias, just adjusting my hand, I actually thought reaching down would be kind of but it's not. It's actually, I actually quite like it. So yeah, these two knobs here are definitely a plus for me. The fact that you get these extra, pedals here on the back, yeah, 100%. And I do think out of the three, I would go as far as to say this is definitely the better looking out of the three. This one, very much plastic on the inside. Everywhere on this wheel, it is plastic. This does come with like your fake type leather, but you got the perforated holes here at the top, and the stitching is actually done very nicely. So you know what? Yeah, if I were to pick out of these three wheels over here, this is definitely the one that I would pick personally myself. About pedals, because all these bundles I'm showing you are bundles, so they come with a set of pedals each, and yeah, some are obviously better than others. In my opinion, this PXN one really outshines both of these sets of pedals here, and I'll show you why. These here are all made out of plastic. You can see they are big and bulky. For this Logitech one, you really have to have midget feet, like maybe like a size 4 foot, because I mean, look at this, my hand. Yeah, so these here, obviously, none of these pedals are fantastic, including these PXN. This is really entry-level pedals, but they are fantastic at one thing, and that is getting you started sim racing, and yeah, without spending a ton of money. And that is what you want when you're buying a bundle. You want to be up and racing. You don't want to struggle. You don't want to have to buy $500 worth of pedals. You just want a nice bundled item that you can set at your desk and you can start racing. And yeah, all these pedals do a great job of that. This set of pedals here, I do consider the best in class. What I mean by that is I've had quite a few bundled items here in my time, and I do consider these pedals here the best bundled entry-level pedals that I have tested to date. And I have tested a lot, and I mean a lot of pedals, okay? And all of these work with an angle hall sensor. What that means is if you were to push down the pedal 10%, then in the simulator it'll be 10% pressure. If you push it down halfway, 50%, bingo. If you push it down to all the way, that'll be a full speed 100% throttle input in the game. And that works the same with a brake. Of course, in sim racing, you get load cell pedals, and I don't know why it is, okay? But us as human beings are better at judging how hard you're pushing a pedal rather than how far you are pushing a pedal. So if you really want to be accurate and you know, you want to get the same amount of brake pressure every time you pass that T1 or T2, whatever turn you're making, you know, making that exact same brake pressure and being able to repeat that brake pressure consistently, it is definitely easier to do so on a load cell pedal. But you're not gonna get the load cell pedal at this price point. You're just not. That's it is. But these pedals are very, very accurate. I did use them, and you know, you 100% can put in some serious lap times with any of these. You know, you can see here the PXN. Why I consider these the best. These pedals here are adjustable. You can move this faceplate up and down if you do have size 24 feet. And then of course you can adjust the angle of these as well. All of these pedals are very much made for desk setups and for like wheel stands. As soon as you mount this on a rig like I did, it is very uncomfortable at this angle. Unless you have a wheel stand that can really angle upwards so that your pedals, you know, if you can angle your pedals upwards with your how you mount them, then yeah, these would be okay. I had to use them like this, and over extended period on my rig here, it does get very uncomfortable having to have my foot like this. This is done by design. If you push down at a chair, you can imagine you're sitting at an office chair, your feet are pointing down. So you're pushing down on the pedals, which means that these pedals are pushed into the ground, and that way they are not moving backwards when you're using them. You can imagine yourself, if I were to apply pressure like this, you can see I will move this pedal very, very easy. However, if you're sitting at a desk and you are pushing down on the pedal or on the throttle like you do, then this pedals, you can see here, even me pushing hard down on the brake, there is like almost no movement in this pedal set. So these pedals are fantastic for you sitting at your couch, your glass table, your work desk, whatever. Fantastic. I just would say when you start upgrading your setup and going towards maybe a rig build, then yeah, these pedals maybe be something to upgrade. Now, talking about upgrades, if you were to upgrade your wheelbase and you are, let's say, changing ecosystems, or maybe you are buying yourself a bigger wheelbase, and yeah, you don't want to spend money on an extra set of pedals, you are happy with the pedals you have. Well, on these pedals here, you'll see because of the little connections they have at the ends. Let me just fish this one here. You'll see, you know, these connections here, you can only use in the wheelbase that is supplied with these. So when you are changing your wheelbase, you also have to change your pedals. Whereas this set of pedals comes with a USB-C, which means you can plug it in directly behind the PXN base, you know, for making cable management, things like that easier, or you can just run the cable directly to your PC. And then if you later on decide to buy another wheelbase, even if it's not a PXN wheelbase, any other wheelbase, you will still be able to use this set of pedals. And I think that's a nice, neat little feature. It just means you're not tied in. As soon as you change your wheelbase in any of these starting bundles, you also have to buy another set of pedals. These won't be able to hook up directly to your PC, which is, you know, not as nice. I want to ask you, the viewer, for a little bit of help, because I've got a little bit of conflicting information, which possibly could help a lot of other viewers watching this review right here now. I love this set of pedals, and one of the biggest reasons I think this is the best set of pedals in this entry-level range is the fact that you get this. You get this spring and elastomer combo. However, when I'm visiting the PXN website, and one of my viewers have pointed it out to me, when you look at the pictures of the Vd4 brake and throttle they've got there, this is not included. Whereas on the other wheelbases, the VD6 and the VD10, if you were to buy them as bundles, and yeah, this is included. Now, I contacted my person that I talked to at PXN, and they told me that yes, this is definitely included in the in the VD4 bundle. So that is fantastic. That is what I want to hear, because at this very moment you cannot buy this separately. So I hope that is the case. But my viewer pointed out that he contacted customer services by PXN, and they told him that this is not included, like what you would see on the pictures on their website. So if you have bought this VD4 bundle, could you please kindly leave a comment for other viewers whether you actually received this little attachment for your brake? Because yeah, I think this is a very, very neat attachment, and it's very nice how they implemented it. I can see you can undo a screw here. Now, it does not come with any extra elastomers or springs. However, I'm sure later on you will be able to buy different springs and elastomers for this little device here to make your brake even more adjustable to your liking. And it's so easy to fit. There's these holes over here. I just need to make sure I've got it rightly angled, and nope, it's like a USB. You always stick it in the right first, and then the wrong way, and then you go the right way again. That's how it works. But look at that, easy as pie. And now this really it completely transforms how this brake feels under your foot. It just feels like a brake, whereas without it, it really just feels like this pedal here, like a throttle, which is really not what you want. So I'm really hoping that this is included with all the bundles. But let me know. Thank you very much. This year PXN little bundle is just a nice progression in technology. It really is. You're buying the latest technology fitted into a small base, and because of that, you're just going to have a better racing experience than what you would buying yourself one of the gear-driven wheelbases that's been on the market for years and years. Now listen, I'm not taking away from the Thrustmasters and the Logitech. There are thousands of people running them bases, and they making massive good lap times, and they having a fantastic time. And do you know what? In the end of the day, that's the thing about a starter bundle, is it gets you racing. So if you do go and buy a Logitech or a Thrustmaster T48, do you know what? It's better than no wheel. Any wheel is better than having no wheel. As long as you can race, any wheel out there beats a controller. So yeah, you're gonna have a blast whichever ones you are buying. However, I do believe that the only reason you would even consider, in my opinion, buying one of them gear-driven bases is just purely for PlayStation or Xbox support. If that's something that is not on your shopping list, then 100% avoid those, because this year bundle for $299, and tell you what, offers a very, very good driving experience, and you're gonna have hours and hours of fun using this. Will you be upgrading this base as soon as funds or your addiction to sim racing grows? Yes, but guess what? At $299, you put this on the market, you're gonna have most of your money back anyway. I think you can drive the bejesus out of this set here for 2-3 years, no problems whatsoever. The build quality definitely superior on the PXN to what it is on the Logitech, G920 or 923 or whatever. Them bases are primarily made out of plastic, and even though they last for years and years, I'm not saying they are bad quality. This year is definitely a step up in quality, and yeah, in the same price range. So for me, the PXN VD4 bundle is a no-brainer. Now, I was also sent this VD10 by PXN, and where I say this is completely a no-brainer, on this one over here, I am working on my review. I do apologize, it's took me so long to make these reviews. I have a few things in my personal life that takes priority at the minute, okay? Kids are off on holidays, and that alone is a bloody mental load that is crazy. But I am working on it. It won't be long, a week or two, and I will have my review for this VD4. Where this is a no-brainer, there's definitely a few things I think to consider when you are looking at buying the VD10 bundle. So please consider subscribing if you want to see that review. If you've made it to this far in the video, I thank you very, very much for watching. And as always, I hope your next race is a winner. Hallelujah.